waiting, so that's good. 100. All right. So this thing's a little bit lower than I usually have it. How's that? I don't want to be looking down like that. How's that? That look better? All right. Okay, well, today's the 17th of July, 2019. Just for prosperity's sakes, I'll throw that in there, just in case 10 years from now I get a hold of this video and listen to it. And let's see. Summer is going along. For the farmer, for the homesteader, things stack up really quickly. So I made my first cutting of hay. I cut about 50 acres, and then I got to about the last 20, or maybe the last 10, and our hay rake broke. So that was kind of a rough thing to deal with. And so we started looking for parts for it. It's a little bit older model, and I couldn't find parts for it. So it's a new idea, model 402, and I need a main axle for it. So if anybody is out there in the part of the country that you live, if you can, do a search for that, maybe it's out there and we just couldn't find it. So we borrowed a hay rake from a neighbor and we finished that up today. Then tomorrow I'll go out and finish baling it. You gotta take it easy on this table because that's bouncy. So that'll be our first cutting of hay for the year. Mostly everything that I've cut and baled is in the barn, and that's a great feeling. It never did get rained on, so I'm feeling really good about that. If I cut not one more, if I made not one more bale of hay, I have enough to make it until grazing next year. And the way that works out is if I don't cut it out of the field, then it stays out in the field, and I can access it with my cattle so long as it's not covered with snow. So you never know. I mean, we've gotten snow in middle of November here, and it stayed until the next spring. So that would cut me off about a month of grazing, and that would not be good. So in order to just be sure that I'm going to have enough hay, I'm going to make another cutting if I can. I want to cut everything I can and get it stored. Last year, I had way more than I needed, and I fed a lot of it to the pigs. This year, I'm not going to have as many pigs, so it's fine. I just want to focus a little bit more on cattle now than pigs, and we can always do well on cattle. All right. So things to talk about today. Wow, look at 700 people. Awesome. Today I moved pigs out onto a fresh field of field peas. I put 13 of them out there. It was a very hot day, and the pigs were panting really bad, and even when we got water to them, they were really distressed. So Jill made the command decision, put a sprinkler out there, put it just outside the fence so they couldn't get at it, and adjusted the sprinkler so it would just do 180 degrees, and that settled them right down. So that's a good thing to know. Today it was really hot, and it was just direct sun, and it was just a tough day for the animals. My cows were mostly at the barn this morning when I walked out the door at 7 o'clock, right? And it was hot. So they were up and at the barn already, except for one, except for Rose. Rose decided to go over to the neighbor's house to see what was going on over there. So that was what I had. Of course, she didn't come home the easy way. She went home the hard way. And I had to follow her the hard way with my motorcycle, and it was... And before I had my coffee, I don't like that. Just don't like that. But anyway, we got her home, but that kind of made the day a little off. And what I saw after that was that the pigs were distressed because it was so hot. So I figured, hey, I'll do that. When I put them in on new forage, it's quite high. It's like 3 or 4 feet high. So they can get in there, and it's very cool for them. We're supposed to have 2 more days of real heat, and then it's supposed to back off. And I think that Well, August can be a real hot month here, but I don't think we're going to have a real tough summer. So this is a change that we've made this year, just so we can kind of live it up a little bit. This used to be our old greenhouse, believe it or not. See this roof here? And there used to be windows here where there's nothing. And then out here, all there was lawn, right? All the way out to the pigs. So now there's a pool. And it's not a big pool, it's above ground. It's 30 by 15. And I highly recommend, for what I paid for it, go for it. Because today it was brutal, and to be able to just peel off and jump in there was really, really nice. We didn't have to drive, we didn't have to see anybody else. We just get in our own pool, and it was really nice. And that's been very helpful. The other thing that I'd like, still good shift. Can you guys see Mark? Yep. Okay. So anyway, in the garden, our beans are only up about this high, right? Because we've had a cool spring, a lot of rain, and now the heat's coming on and stuff's starting to bust loose. But in the greenhouse, we've got really nice green. In the greenhouse, we've got really nice green beans, and we're a month ahead of where the garden's going to be. So that's pretty nice. If you get into the homesteading or the farming business, one of the things to think about is to end your season. Okay, that's the second time it disconnected. That looks good. All right, we'll keep going. So something to think about is greenhouse when you're doing food production, because you extend your season a month before and you can go several months after. Like usually our garden is cleared out by September, but we can be planting in greenhouse in September. And not everything, but there's a lot of things that grow really well. And it's really nice to have fresh greens and things like that for the house when we're going into winter like that. It really is helpful, even in fine stuff to eat. Okay, so what else is going on? Jill is working on her foraging skills, and it's kind of morphed from stuff we could pick from the field and eat, like fiddleheads and leeks and stuff like that, into stuff that we walk by every day, and some of this stuff is weeds, and they're just no good at all. And so she's been educating me, and oh yeah, I think I shared last week the green drink, and we even have one going right here, so I'll show you this. Okay, so that's stuff that was just picked from around the farm. Do you want to tell me what is in there exactly?
Plantain,
purslane, mallow,
and grass.
Grass. What kind of grass?
Grass.
Just grass. All right. And then taking that and putting it in a blender, and then letting all the juices come out of it. Last night in the fridge, I was looking around for something, and I found this jar with this dark green liquid in it. And when I opened it up, it kind of smelled like when you take the bagger off the lawnmower. That grass smell, but it smelled really good. It's kind of deep, rich, kind of woody. And what she has instructed me to do with that is to take some of it, dump some in a glass, vinegar on top of that, the really good stuff. What kind of vinegar is that?
Apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar. And then fill the rest with cold.
Apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar. And then fill the rest with cold water. And I had that at like 10:30 at night before I went to bed. And just great. Just really great. It's, I wouldn't want to drink, just great. Just really great. It's, I wouldn't want to drink like a Pepsi before I go to bed. But that is really something. So we've been working on that. We've been having just tremendous salads every day at lunchtime with lamb's quarter and some of the things that she went through before. I think purslane is a real good one. It's a succulent plant, and it's really good to eat. So Jill is going to be doing a instructional type thing like this where she's online and she can take questions and she can show you these different plants and just explain to you how she's used them. And I mean, it's not like it's just her that's eating and drinking this stuff. She's given it to us, my kids. You know, my kids eat just about everything that's put in front of them, unless they don't like it. Some kids won't eat anything that's orange or something like that. Some of the kids have things that they don't like. I don't like beets, so I won't eat them. And I've never liked beets. But usually the kids eat just about everything. All right, so that's about it. Yeah, that's all I can think of.
Oh, did you talk about hog harvest?
Oh, okay. Hog Harvest is our yearly instructional time where we bring people on the farm on a Friday afternoon, and we start with live pigs. We go Friday, Saturday all day, long day Saturday, and about 3/4 of the day on Sunday. And so we're starting with live pigs, and we're finishing up with prosciuttos and bacons and hams and copas, and we utilize all the organ meats. There's a bunch of stuff that we still don't know how to do, and so this time we're going to try and broach some of those subjects and just read up best we can and just do it. Like we have not been utilizing the intestines, and the intestines are they're very usable. They have to be flushed out and they have to be soaked and then scraped and all that stuff. But then they can be stuffed to make sausages. We usually just buy the skins that we use. So that's something that we want to learn. But if you come to this class, you get to participate in everything except the shooting. That is done by my staff here. We just don't. We usually process one pig per 6 participants. So each group of 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'm back on. That's the 3rd time. I'll just keep going if no one's really complaining. So everybody gets to participate a lot. We don't push anybody, but yes, we do. Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. I'm former military, and I like to see people in your pockets. I'm going to encourage you to do things. So. Yeah, but I mean, there's definitely things that people don't want to do, and if you say, "Hey, I don't want to do that," well, that's fine. Like the girls here at our farm, they don't participate in any of the slaughtering. They help us with the processing a lot. They're key to that, but they do not do any killing, and they've never expressed an interest in doing it, so they don't do it. And that's fine. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. It's a great class. I believe that the homesteader or the small farmer should have a whole lot of skills that he knows how to do. Everything from delivering a baby to stitching a wound and everything in between. You should know how to do these things. And we here on this place, we try to do everything we can within our realm of knowledge. If we don't know how to do it, though, I was just handed a pair of gloves and said, "Okay, you're going to sit right here." So that was my first time, and then a few other babies I delivered, right here. Okay, so let's go. I'd kind of like to expand the conversation going forward. We talk about pigs, we talk about chickens, we talk about small farms, talk about regulations, we talk about delivering babies. But let's go. Let's play Stump the Dummy. Ask some questions here, and let's get rolling. Now, let's see. Does Jill have any questions from last week left over?
Well, I've got one. Eric asked if we've ever used a cover crop with lettuce, He's trying it out with his fall crops. I wondered if we'd ever done cover crop.
Fall cover crop with lettuce.
Um,
Use lettuce as a cover crop.
no, I think he means he's growing lettuce. Maybe he could clarify.
All right. Well, I can address it both ways because we do a lot of cover cropping here. Cover cropping, for you guys that might not know, Mother Nature is, what's that word that Mother Nature is?
Modest.
Modest. She likes to cover herself. All right. So when you go into the winter, your dirt is bare. You're exposing all the little biology people that live in there. You're exposing them to that intense cold and wind and sun too.
Oh yes, he planted lettuce between the rows.
Lettuce between the rows as a cover crop. Well, there you go. It's like an edible cover crop, which is a good thing. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. Yeah, I don't know. Would that get it? Yeah, I've never thought of that, but you could use lettuce as a cover crop. Lettuce is just stone cover. Okay,
He had a bunch of seeds, so
okay.
it was one of those.
We for cover crop in between rows, we've used a lot of clover, and then into the mix. And in the fall time, I like to use rye. Rye works really good here, depending on the year, and it's easy to plant. You don't have to drill it in. You can just broadcast it. That means you can just go out and throw it, or you can have a little rotary seeder, and then you can just drag something over it to get some of it in. Or in our case, a lot of times we are cover cropping a field that we actually have animals on, so their little hooves will push things in. And cover cropping is a really good. This is a conspiracy. That's what this is. A cover crop like lettuce would never make it through the winter. So in the spring, you would have kind of a mush type thing. Something like rye will make it through the winter. And in the spring, you'll have, as soon as the melt happens, and you get a little bit of warmth into the soil, you'll have that rye just come alive. It'll germinate. It's already germinated, but it'll take off in the spring. One of the things to think about with something like a lettuce cover crop, when it winter kills, sort of like lettuce in that bottom part of your refrigerator, I think they call it the rotter. You put lettuce in there and it rots it. If you had it on the top of a hill, let's say, if you made a row that was a hill, and then the lettuce was on there, and you took the center of it out and took it in the house and ate it, and everything else was left there, it would fall down over that hill, right? And over the winter, it would rot. In the summertime, it would dry, and you'd actually have like a paper on there. And you could just slit right down through that, and you could plant down into that. And that's a very good weed suppression right there. Ooh, I said weed. Sorry about that. So, is there another question?
This person is thinking of growing red rangers, the Freedom Rangers. What do you think of those? Oh, and Joe Brown wants to know if you tried your sun hemp.
Okay. Freedom Rangers, we do grow those. I do pastured poultry here, so there's two types of chickens that we involve ourselves with here on Baker's Green Acres. Actually, three. We have layers, which will be like Rhode Island Reds and Isa Browns, and you name it. There's about 15 of them that are big name. You'd know them if you saw them. And they lay eggs, right? any of these dual purpose birds that you see in the catalogs, it sounds good, but we've tried it and has not worked for us. All right, so you don't get real good egg layers, and then when you get sick of them, you finally process them. They're not real good to eat. So what you want is you want an egg layer, and then you want a meat bird. All right. So of the meat birds, we do Cornish crosses. They're a white bird, and they grow real fast. 8 to 10 weeks. That's all it takes for them on a good commercial feed. If you don't want to do commercial feed, like you don't want soy and you don't want genetically modified corn and stuff like that, then they're going to take longer, and your feed's going to call them that. But they take between 10 and 12 weeks. The fat on the inside of those, we just did a bunch of them, is really nice. It's yellow. I mean, it's just bright yellow, and very usable. And the meat is darker red. And those birds, those particular birds, are a whole lot tougher than the white birds. They can stand up to the heat better, and they can eat what's out in the field. So if you have a field, like a lawn or clover field or just a hay field, or even just I go with that W word, the weed field, the rangers will eat that. And that might be something to really think about, because with the white birds, they'll basically eat a little bit of clover, a little bit of grass, and then they want feed. They want commercial feed. That's what they want. And they're kind of designed for that. So you're not getting, the meat of them is not going to be very diverse in its chemical makeup. With the rangers, where they're eating everything that they can find out in the field along with their feed, you're going to get a more diverse, chemically diverse meat. And we've noticed when we have them, we like them better. They're darker red. They take a little bit longer, but in the homesteading model, I'm not out anything if my chickens go an extra 2 weeks, especially ones that are just eating what they can find out there. So I can see a day when we're going to be completely Freedom Rangers. I did have a situation. This has nothing to do with a Freedom Ranger, except they were the victims. I was going out to do hay the other day, and I crested the hill, and there were 3 eagles sitting there, and they had something. 2 bald eagles, and it looked like a golden eagle. But somebody said it may have been an immature bald eagle, but it was bigger than the bald eagle. So I don't really know what that was. I haven't found that out. But they took off, and whatever they had, they took with them. And as I started going around baling up hay on that field, I saw that, oh yeah, there's a Freedom Ranger. Now, they came in during the day. My dogs take care of mostly everything at night, but these dudes come in during the day. They just swoop in, grab a chicken, and then they go just out of range of the dogs, and they'll sit there and they'll eat it. And in the day, the dogs aren't used to anything predating. So you can't do anything with eagles. You can't do anything. You can't even. I don't think can't even call them names. That's called molestation, and it's the national bird. So you can't do anything. A lot of guys around here are saying, "Oh, they're no different than hawks. There's so many of them. You see them eating on dead deer on the side of the road and stuff like that." I don't know. I don't think I would want to shoot one. I took a pop at one time just to scare him, or what I thought was an eagle, and I related this in that video that I made, which I realized later on I could get myself in trouble. But I thought the gunshot would scare what I thought was an eagle coming down on my chickens, but it was actually a turkey vulture, and it was over 200 yards away, and all I had was a shotgun with number 4 bird shot in it, and I didn't think it would even reach that, but it did. That bird crumpled up and hit the deck, and I had to drive out there, and I thought, I've injured or killed a bald eagle. I felt really bad about it. And when I got there, this great big bird is laying on the ground. Its head was under it, and I thought, I've killed an eagle. But it wasn't. When I flopped it over, it was a turkey vulture, and they're not protected. And it was an accident. I didn't mean to. I mean, I did aim in that direction, but it was so far away, and shotguns are not really known for distance capability like that. I never thought they were. So anyway, I don't shoot at eagles anymore. I don't even yell at them. I don't even call them names. They got to have one of my chickens the other day, and I thought that enjoy it. I had another story to relate. Oh yeah. The other night I was out. It was just about dark. I was doing something, and something caught my eye, and I looked, and sometimes my eyesight amazes me. It actually does, because this was really far away. This was 300 yards away. That's a long. No, it was 200 yards away. That's a long way if you know what 200 yards is. But something caught my eye, and at first I thought it was a calf. So I looked, and when I continued to look in that direction, I saw something slinking along, and it was a fox, or what I thought was a fox. And it was coming from my chicken area. So I thought, well, I'm going to just go see who this is and what he thinks this is all about. And so I got my trusty 22 Magnum rifle with open sights, and I went out, and I couldn't see anything, and so I just squatted down for a little bit and started swatting mosquitoes, and here he came. He's coming right from the chickens, right towards me, and he ran up on a hay bale just like it was, this is a 6-foot round hay bale, and he just ran right up on and stood there broadside, and he was no more than 75 yards away, and he was real skittish. He was looking for me, and so when I brought the gun up, I brought it up and cracked it off. I thought I hit him, but I went out there and I couldn't find anything, and he did a weird maneuver, ran around in circles, and I chambered another one, and he heard that, and he took off the other way. So I guess I missed him because I couldn't find anything, and if I'd have hit him, there would have been something blew out the other side of him, but I didn't hit him. So
Hopefully you scared him off.
yeah, I scared him off. Well, actually, when I was chasing my cow back to the house this morning, I did see another kill site. So don't know who's doing that, but I think it's probably that fox. If we want to talk about predation, if you guys have questions about that, I've become somewhat of an expert over the years, knowing who's doing what by the way they do it. So, another question, please.
Yep. Jim from Vermont.
All right, Jim.
Do you keep male and female pigs in the same pasture or pens? He has megalitzes. 4 females, 1 is due soon, and he has 2 males.
Okay, I've done that scenario right there, 2 males, and I had no problems. What we try to do is mimic the way it would be in nature. So if you look into this, if you look into like what's the name of that pig? Wild boars or
Eurasian boar.
Eurasian wild boars. If you look into that, there are places in this world where they are native, right? And if you look at how they run in what they call sounders. So it'll be a male, sort of like bears. So it'll be a male and a bunch of females. And then there'll be younger males, and they kind of fight each other for breeding rights. And so we kind of do that. We kind of do the same thing. Like right now, I have 4 sows and a boar, and they're together. And they're going to stay together. So you're probably wondering if the boar is going to threaten the babies when they're born. A good boar won't. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. We did have a guy that did that. It just so happens it happened right in front of some people that were visiting, and they weren't used to things like that. And this boar just, I could see him looking at this little pig, and then he just launched at that pig, and he grabbed it and crunch, and then he stepped on it and tore it in half and ate it. Who knows why it happens? I just don't know. People have a lot of different theories. It has happened to us different seasons, different diets. You know, I just don't know what the answer is to that. I have heard people that definitively on, you know, especially on the internet, there's a lot of experts on the internet, and they've said, "Oh, it's because of this." But from my experience, I can tell you, there's a reason there, but I don't think it's something that we know, right? And it doesn't usually happen. Like in the wild, if a boar eats his own, why does he do that? I mean, Marlon Perkins or Marty Stouffer or somebody can tell us why, but do they really know? You know, I don't know if they do. Everybody wants to come up with an answer. I don't have one for you, but yeah, you can run them together, and generally what'll happen is they'll get into a groove when they're gonna mate, and you'll start having pigs the same time every year. And for us, we have them in the winter, and then we have them in the summer. And maybe if we held our boar back, we could time it better. But winter pigs are not bad because people like baby pigs in the spring, and then they're ready to go in spring. So, and with the Mangalites, where you are up in Vermont, I'm familiar with that country. You'll be fine. Mangalites do really, really well in the cold. Those pigs might even be originally from us. I guess they would be if they're swallow bellies. They are, because we were the second farm to be raising swallow bellies. We were the first ones to raise blondes. So, and as far as I know, nothing else has been imported except reds, and I've never had reds. So those pigs probably did. Swallow bellies, yeah. So they did come from here in a roundabout way at some point. I mean, you could trace them all the way back. The guy that originally imported them, his name is Heath Putnam. I talked to him 6 months ago, and he's been out of the business for a long time. So we were the second breeder to get in behind him, and then it might have been simultaneous with another guy out in California. I don't remember his name, but I think he's out now too. Anyway, there you go. Hope I answered your question.
He has a young male blonde, too, in Vermont.
In Vermont?
In Vermont.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Why?
thinking of something.
Oh, yeah. There's a farm out there that we were consulting with, and they make whiskey. They make a whiskey called Whistle Pig whiskey. It's supposed to be the best whiskey there is. I sure drank a lot of it, but I don't generally drink whiskey. So, anyway.
Alrighty. Ken wanted to know, do you plant a fall garden? If so, when and what?
We never have, Ken, except for some things that we put in the greenhouse. I don't know, the luck that I've had with this little greenhouse, like tonight, having green beans, and what else did we have?
Peas?
Broccoli, peas. I just think, a friend of mine has a big one, and he's in commercial farming. He runs a big CSA.
He knows Whistle
Bryce.
Pig well.
Huh?
He knows Whistle Pig well.
Okay, you know Whistle Pig. I wonder if we know. What was that guy's name?
Jim Sheeran?
Okay. I don't know if we ever met you, Jim.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But anyway, Bryce.
But a friend of our, Bryce Mosier, they go by Mosier or Mosher?
Mosier.
Mosier. They have a really nice greenhouse, and he's got it wired. He's he had tomatoes in there that were 6 feet tall a month ago. So if he wanted to just feed his family out of that greenhouse, I think he could do a really nice job out of it. So as far as fall crops here in the garden, the only fall crop that we would plant in this garden would be cover crop. That's it. In the greenhouse, whatever we want to, we can grow in there.
Dark leafy greens.
Dark leafy greens.
I want to get some broccoli. Trying to remember. I got some other things. I don't remember what
Yeah.
they were though.
So once our storeroom is full, that's kind of it, in the fall, and then we're kind of like trying to get everything cleaned up to go into winter, and then we're probably cutting wood or butchering pigs. We butcher a lot of pigs in the fall. Actually, with our Anyone Can Farm hog harvest, we're going to be going to the Upper Peninsula to do a class, and it'll be a 3-day class. And we may actually do another class out on an island here in Lake Michigan if things go right. But that's all we have planned for this fall. So here's what you can do if you're doing mangalitas out there in Vermont, you can contract with us. We will come and do the class for you, me and Jill, and we'll bring a couple of our kids to help. We will shoot you a price on that, and then you can charge people around you whatever you want. So you can make more than we make on it, and then we butcher your hogs. And when we leave, we've just dumped a whole bunch of knowledge on you that your people out there can just run with. So any place that we've done this, it seems like the whole Mangalitsa thing just flourishes. I don't know another pig that has ever been celebrated in the United States the way this one is. People learn how to make bacon, they learn how to make prosciutto, they learn how to make copa, loma, lardo, Coca-Cola, all kinds of sausage, dried cured, wet cured. There's all kinds of things you can do with this animal, and it's incredible. And it seems like wherever there's a class that goes, it's because people are interested in that in the first place, and then, hey, we pass on the knowledge that we have, which is, on the scale of 1 to 10, it's probably about a 5 of what there is to know, or maybe I'm even being nice to us. But we know what we know. We've picked up things along the way from different people. We learned scene butchery pretty well. We know how to break an animal down, and we know how to salt and cure and all that stuff. We don't know it all, though. There's a lot to know. There's a lot of good books out there. And then once we've left an area after a class, it seems like it just flourishes, and then it breeds a whole new group of experts. There's a lot of experts on the internet, I tell you. A lot of experts, because they're the ones that are always taking me to the woodshed.
Right,
Any other
Susan,
questions?
Blessed Acres.
Yes, Susan.
She has Isaac Browns and Icelandic chickens, some roosters. Is it odd that the roosters won't fertilize the Isaac Browns? She has broody hens and really wants them to hatch Isaac Brown eggs. So she's hoping they've crossed.
I'm taking it you're thinking that the rooster hasn't fertilized the chicken because you haven't seen that happen. Is that what you're taking from this?
Possibly.
Or maybe the chickens aren't sitting on eggs. Like they'll sit on eggs that are not fertilized. An unfertilized egg, by the way, is called a dud. But a fertilized egg would be an egg that when you break it open, there's a little blood spot in there. So if you have a rooster in there and you're seeing those little blood spots, that means that they're fertilized. and you know, roosters are not racist. If you get a racist rooster, time for him to go into the stew pot. I don't know what to tell you there. They'll usually breed anything that's a chicken.
Maybe let the hens set a little bit and then candle them to find out what's going on there.
Yeah. What we've done, if you're interested in hatching your own, is you can get these really nice incubators from Tractor Supply, fairly inexpensive. We got one that was about 18 by 18, and you could put 36 eggs in it, I think. And it had a little motor on it that would turn the eggs and stuff. So if you have a rooster that's in with your flock, you must assume that those eggs are going to be fertilized. And so you just collect them, you put them in that thing, you plug it in, and you know, make sure it's maintaining temperature and stuff. And then in about 30 days, you'll see the eggs start to open up and the chicks will come out. And that way you don't need a hen that's going to sit on eggs. You know, you can just have that little thing. That's one way to go, and you learn a lot along the way.
She said the rooster doesn't even go near them.
Oh,
Maybe he is picky.
maybe he's
Maybe
picky.
he has high standards.
High standards. I don't know.
Get a new rooster.
Get a new rooster. You know, they're easy to come by. I have one that I'm not really using. That's weird. I've not heard of that. But you don't know. I mean, he doesn't go near him during the day when you're there, but maybe at night. You probably should watch that movie Chicken Run, and then you can kind of get the idea of how chickens are. They're organized. They are organized. You think they're not, but they are. Next question. Give me a good question.
Paul.
All right, Paul.
Greenhorn wondered, what would you recommend as far as having one sow and two gilts farrowing together? Should I separate them?
No. Well, if they were pregnated at the same time, I'd say no. I'd say you run into problems when one of them is a month ahead of the other one. Because what happens then, well, that's a heavy helicopter coming across. What happens then is the babies from the first one will start nursing. Sounds like a Chinook. They'll start nursing the mother that's in the process of having babies, and her babies are too small to fight off the, the older babies. So if they're close, I would just leave them together. And there's a lot of tales that go with farrowing and farming. You know, there's a lot of folk tales, and one of them is that each pig has a certain tit that pig goes to. That's not true. They'll go to other moms. They're not particular like that. So if you have a bunch of moms in the same pen and they've all been impregnated about the same time, it's really fun to watch. One will start to grunt and she'll flop over and start feeding. And it's sort of like when you're out to dinner with your wife and your buddy and his wife, and all of a sudden your wife has to go to the bathroom and she's like, oh, I gotta go too. It's sort of the same thing. Or if there's a bunch of you have 5 women go to the bathroom at the same time. It's sort of like that. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Another question? Okay, there are no questions. That would indicate to me that we are at the end of this session. And unless somebody has a quick one that they want to slide in here before we sign off, I got some things that I can do. I get a lot of daylight this time. It was brutally hot here, and after lunch I laid down and I was out like a light for an hour in front of a fan. So I'm gonna go long today. I know that. Okay, well, I appreciate everybody coming by. At the end of all these, I'll say to you, anyone can farm, and what that is the name of our training program, and where it came from is the movie Ratatouille, where the chef, who was the good guy, not the opportunistic little twerp, said that anyone can cook, and then in the movie, a rat wound up being a very good cook, and he stood on the dishwashers under his hat and pulled his hair and made him cook. So in our country right now, there's a lot of pushback on small farms, and so what we'd like to do is to remind everybody that anyone can farm. You know, it's a learning process. It's pretty forgiving, and just get out there and do it. So remember, anyone can farm, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming by.